Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5 a.m. club. Saturday morning, I'm in the city. It's sprinkling, another wet day by the looks of it. See where it leads us. Had a late night last night. I had a 20-hour work day, so I've had time to go home, have a shower, have a bite to eat, sleep, up and back at work today. But what I absolutely love about my current job is that the more I work, the more I get paid, unlike all those days that I spent working for a salary and getting paid for the 37.25 hours a week, regardless of how many hours I worked. And of course, the hours that I worked were much in excess of those hours. Whereas these days, you work 20 hours and you get paid for close to 36 hours, which is exactly how I like it, exactly how I want it, and the fairest of all systems. Anyway, let's go on a bit of a walk and talk. I want to have a chat to you about a book summary that I just knocked off on the bus on the way in. The book summary is entitled The Myth of Multitasking, and the author is Dave Crenshaw. So I found this book very refreshing because working in the corporate environment for a number of years, I had a number of people who would boast how good they were at multitasking, and it's only now that I appreciate that the whole concept of multitasking is overrated, and according to this author, is impossible. So it's all bullshit. So the author kicks off the book with a lovely little quote suggesting that multitasking is a polite way of people telling you that they haven't heard a word that you have said. So the author tells us that there's no such thing as multitasking, and that what we actually are experiencing when we claim to be multitasking is a thing called switch tasking, where we switch between one task and another because the brain can only do this. It can only focus on one thing at a time, and you're rapidly switching from one to the other. But there is a limit to how much you can do, because the author talks about the fact that we're rapidly switching from one task to the other, and there's a part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that is in charge when we're participating and partaking in conscious actions. So when we're doing one thing at a time, both halves of the brain are engaged and are working on that single task. The author then says that when we do a second task, what happens is that each half of the brain will take that single task, each of those single tasks, and work on them independently, and running its own reward and goal cycle. But once something becomes more important, then what you'll do is you'll switch, and you'll just continue to switch. But when you introduce a third item, what happens is you experience complete and utter chaos. So the author then enlightens us and talks to us about the fact there are two types of switches that happen in the prefrontal cortex. And it's important to understand that these two switches are named an active switch and a passive switch. And an active switch is something that you manage and you do yourself. And it's basically where you're talking to somebody on the phone, sitting at your desk, and at the same time what you do is you open up an email and start reading the email. So it's a switch which you are in control of, and a passive switch is one where the environment introduces that switch to you. For example, you're sitting at your desk working, you're on a phone call, and somebody will walk into the room and start talking to you. So those two switches are the sorts of switches which occur, and they're the sort of switches that we need to be cognizant of and work out how to deal with and to manage within our work day and work process. So the author then goes on to say that an active switch requires discipline, and you can learn through habit and through work style to be able to manage. But it's that second one, the passive one, which is a really tricky one. But the way you can deal with it, according to the author, is that you can take preemptive action. You can determine in advance how you're going to deal with those interruptions where people pop into the office uninvited and start distracting you, taking you away from your single task and impacting your productivity and your efficiency on the work front. So the sort of preemptive action that one can take to be able to manage the passive switching that happens throughout the day, and we're interrupted all the time according to research and many studies that have been developed and held over the years. The way you manage it, according to the author, from a preemptive perspective, is that you learn to schedule. I'll just have a look in here. You learn to schedule regular and recurring meetings with people that you interact with throughout the day, and that people who obviously need your input, such as a work peer, a secretary, or people that, as I said, you're working with. So, just in summary again, the way you manage the passive switching is by organising and putting into your diary that throughout the day, every couple of hours, you're going to sit down with your work peers and hear them out and answer any questions that they have. Say, for example, you're a manager and you're managing 5 people, then you spend, say 10 minutes a day throughout the day just working with them. And the other one that the author talks about here is having an open office hour at least once a week or a couple of times a week, where you basically have your office door open and you welcome interruptions by people that you work with who can just pop in and chat and see you. So the last point to come out of this book is that we understand that single tasking is the way to superb productivity, but you can't push it on everybody. Not everybody understands the benefits of single tasking that we've just gone through. So you basically need to establish your system in terms of how you work and to defend it. And it is really, really hard, especially when you're working in a team, when you're working in a hierarchy where you've got a boss, a boss's boss, you've got customers, you've got people ripping at you all the time. But in order to be effective at what you do and a leader in what you do, you need to, as the author says, you need to establish your single tasking system and defend it at all costs. And you're going to be putting people's noses out of joint. But with time, you will lead by example, And once you start getting the massive results and having the reputation as being a star within your team, then and only then you'll get more and more of an opportunity to teach other people your technique and to establish it as a benchmark. So I think that's it from this morning, Saturday morning in the city. I've had 4 hours sleep, but that's enough for me. I'm back here working, and we'll see where this day leads. It's stopped raining for now. It's a gentle breeze, it's balmy, it's not bad. So we'll see where this day leads us. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable, and most importantly, we all need to understand that regardless of whether or not you're a man or a woman, single tasking is the way to go. Single tasking is the way the brain operates, and that multitasking, although a lot of people boast about it, is a myth. You can only do one good thing at a time, and the faster you realise it, the better off you're going to be. So avoid the temptation of trying to do too many things at the one time, because all you'll be doing is wiring yourself up for pain and not being very effective at the end of the day. So learn to focus on the one thing at a time and defend it at all costs, and don't accept the bullshit from all the people around you claiming that they're a champion multitaskers, because it's just something which doesn't work and is unsustainable. Take care, and I look forward to coming to you again later on throughout the morning on Jim's 5 a.m. Club, where we go on a journey, talk about another book summary, and see where it leads us. So for those who know me, I'm on a path of trying to get to my 1000th vlog at some point. The goal is to get there by my birthday, my 61st birthday, and we'll see how we go. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you're finding this useful. I don't know if there are all that many people who will listen to a Jim's 5 a.m. vlog from beginning to end, but my goal is not to ensure that people listen to it, but for me to deliver it and for me to build up a significant number of vlogs so that I live, learn and pass it on. Yassas, take care, and we'll chat again. Good luck ya from Jim's 5 a.m. Club. Bye for now.